Good morning. It is 11 o'clock. It is the 5th day of July, and hopefully you are all safe and survived last night festivities of fireworks and fervivlies and drunkenness and just, oh my God. It was not a pretty 4th of July here in Ventura. Don't know about you guys. So let's dive right back into the topic of world building, and now we're getting into I want to run my first adventure in this world I've built. What should I run? Well, allow me to pontificate and wax philosophically on the beauty of modules, or the fact that chances are somebody's already done the work for you, and if you're like me, you're lazy. There are tons of modules, pre-printed adventures that have been created for your role-playing game of choice that date back to the very origins of the role-playing game of choice, be it Star Wars, Dungeons & Dragons, superheroes, Creeks and Crawdads, whatever. Somebody's already done the work. Why not take advantage of the work they've done and support them by checking out some modules? And especially right now when there's so much stuff free on the internet, or really free or really low price on eBay or from the publishers. I mean, when the COVID first started, people were just literally vomiting out free stuff because they knew people were going to stay at home for long periods of time. Now, obviously, that has pittered off because those people want to make money still, especially during this period of time, which is understandable, but still, there is a lot of backlog of free stuff out on the interweb, and there are people like Wizards of the Coast who are still putting out free product almost every day to take advantage of the people who, like me, are stuck at home but still want to play, or at least still want to explore the possibilities. So, while writing your own adventure is great, why not see if there's a module out there that you can use as a framework and maybe combine both? Here's your idea right here, and then here's the module right here, and then you can just take the stuff from your idea and the stuff from the module and mash them together, a topic that I have spoken of plenty of times and love the idea, and then make your new product. So while you're still running whatever this is, Underdark Prison Riot from a Dragon magazine, you've also got your own personal take on a prison escape scenario, or the player character stumble across a prison. So you're taking stuff that you like out of the module, and you're taking your stuff you like from your own personal deal and combining it together. That, in my humble opinion, is probably one of the best ways. Not that you shouldn't write your own adventures. You should write hundreds of your own adventures. 5-room dungeons, 1-room dungeons, 3x5 card encounters, whatever. There's tons of different philosophies and ways to write adventures. So yes, write adventures, make mistakes, but start with some kind of framework. And even if you don't use the module entirely, you just pick and choose a few things that still provide you a framework. And the important thing with adventure design is a framework. Now, you're going to hear a lot of words like sandbox and railroading and player advocacy and whatever, blah, 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 and the grandma house scenario and the 5-room dungeon, and lots of stuff is out there about how you should do an adventure according to some idiot like me, because we know better than you. You know what? Do the adventure whatever way you want that makes your game the most fun for you and most fun for the players you have, but have a framework, because inevitably you're going to run in that scenario where either the player characters just suddenly slog down and stop because they've run out of ideas and are waiting for you to tell them what to do, or they go haphazard, hog wild, murder hobo, chaotic stupid in a completely bizarre, outrageous direction that you had no plan for. And even if you're running a so-called sandbox, you're going to find yourself in the unenviable position of either A, well, here's my sandbox, guys, you can do whatever you want. And they're like, I don't know what I want to do. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. Let's go talk to an NPC and see if they give us something to do. Or B, hey guys, I really need you to go to the church and get the holy widget. Yeah, no, we're not going to the church. But I've written the whole game about you going to the church and getting the holy widget. Yeah, we're not gonna, fuck that. We're not gonna go to the church. We're gonna go to grandma's house. What? Now, the grandma's house scenario you hear me talk about a lot, and it's based upon a scenario that actually I read about where one of the players decided that his grandmother lived in town. And so instead of doing anything that the DM tried to get them to do, all the players wanted to do was go to this character's grandmother's house and get cookies. And that just became a thing. And the DM got so frustrated because no matter what they did, the player characters just got obsessed with going to grandma's house that they eventually just table flipped. They're like, fuck you guys, you're not doing anything I had planned, fuck this game, I'm done. Because the DM got so locked in to, this has to go the upper way. Now, these are the two extremes, obviously. The extreme A, the player characters don't do anything. They just sit there going, what do you want me to do? And then they're like waiting for you, mom, dad, to tell them what to do. Or B, the player characters decide to go hog wild in a completely random direction that you're completely unprepared for. So that's why a framework for your adventure is so important. So no matter what, where they sit on the spectrum of what the random craziness that your players are going to do. Sponsor me, Venom. You have a framework. So here's your one random framework. Prison escape or prison riot or there's a prison, go explore it. Here's my framework. You probably want, unless you're running a one-shot, which is just everything that's going to happen is going to happen today. And I don't know if there's going to be another game. I don't know if I'm going to have these same players. So I'm just running a one-shot adventure, which we'll talk about some other time. Chances are you have some vague story you want to tell, sort of, even if it is a so-called sandbox where you don't really have a story. You've just sort of made these things and you hope that they go enjoy them. To move whatever your story is along, even if it is a one-shot, there's certain key events that have to happen in your framework. In the theater business, we call this a script. So in the script, I want a few things to happen. Now, I know my actors, my players, are going to ad-lib a lot of shit, and that's okay, but I still have this script I want to happen. The Death Star still inevitably has to get blown up at the end of my adventure. Script. Hollywood. Puff. Framework. Here's my framework. Inevitably, I want them to, okay, let's use Star Wars, blow up the Death Star. That's my framework. Now, in order to get them to the point where they blow up the Death Star, certain things have to happen. The rebels have to get the plans. The rebels have to discover some weakness in order to take advantage of it, to blow up the Death Star, and the Death Star needs to be blown up. So there's the three things we know that have to happen. Now, Star Wars is a movie, which means the director has complete and utter control over what happens. So he knows exactly when this is going to happen. But your game is not a movie. Your game is this random series of events that you hope tell a story of them blowing up the Death Star. But you don't really know what the fuck those idiots at your table are going to do. They might go to grandma's house. But you still need them to do at least one of these three things to get to the point of blowing up the Death Star. Because that's the framework of your adventure. It might take you longer than you had planned because they've decided to go off to do grandma's house. But grandma's house is a lot better than them just sitting around going, I don't know, what do you want to do? like, I don't know, we want to go to Mos Eisley's and drink beer? I guess. I mean, is that, what are we supposed to do, DM? I don't know what we're supposed to do. What are we supposed to do? Give us a hint. So really, of your two options, Grandma's house is better than them sitting around because they're doing something, at least in Grandmother's house. So have a framework. And your framework, for our example, is, I want you to blow up the Death Star. In order to blow up the Death Star, certain things need to happen. Now, they don't need to happen in any order, and that's a thing a lot of DMs, no matter how good they are, forget. You get locked into the framework, you get locked into the story, you get locked into the Underdark prison riot has to happen. You get locked into the Ben has to die. You get locked into the spaceship has to crash into the meteor. You get locked in. And then when they do something against that doesn't happen the way you think it should happen, you get locked in and it has to happen. And then we get to that scenario where the DM just goes, fuck it, and flips the table. But remember, you, the DM, are in complete control over what happens. Even if the players don't think so, even if you're running a sandbox. You have the permission. I give you permission to change the adventure on the fly in order for the framework to happen. They're not going to get the plans because they've decided to go and explore the ice caves of the sandwich planet of Las Vegas. Okay. Why can't the plans be in the ice caves of the sandwich planet of Las Vegas? You still need them to get the plans, but they're not going to where the plans are. They don't know they're not going to where the plans are. So move the fucking plans. If they're not going to get R2, put R2 to where they are going. You have that unbelievable power of a DM as long as you have a framework in mind for your adventure. You can move the framework around to react to the players. And far too often I see DMs, no matter how experienced they claim they are, even the so-called best DMs in the world, and beginner DMs make the same mistake of forgetting that they're in control of the framework of the adventure. Nothing has to happen the way the module is written. As long as you're following the framework of the module, inevitably the Death Star has to be blown up. It can happen in any order, and you as the DM have complete control over the framework, over the order. They're not going to Mos Eisley's. Put whatever it is they needed from Mos Eisley's where they are going. They're not going to rescue the princess, but rescuing the princess is unbelievably important to getting to the next part of the module. Put the princess where they are going. They're not getting to the Death Star via whatever. Give them another way to get to the Death Star. Move the Death Star. Throw in another MacGuffin that destroys the Death Star. Throw in an NPC or an encounter that pushes them back in the direction you need them to inevitably go because you, again, are in complete control of the framework. And nothing in the game happens until you initiate it, DM, because you could at any point in time simply say no. No. But you don't want to say no because that starts conflict between you and your players. You want to say no in a way they don't know you're saying no. You want to control the framework. If you don't ever want them to fucking go to the sandwich caves on the swamp planet of Las Vegas, blow it up. It's not there. There are no sandwich caves. Throw in an encounter to turn them the other direction. Throw in an NPC that instigates them to go in the way you sort of need them to go. As long as these 2 or 3 things happen, they need to get to the plans, they need to discover the weakness of the Death Star, and they need to inevitably at some point in time destroy the Death Star. Doesn't matter in what order they happen. Doesn't matter where the plans are. Doesn't matter what weakness they find in the Death Star. They might find a completely different one than you had planned. And it doesn't really matter how they destroy the Death Star, as long as the Death Star gets destroyed. So the module of Star Wars, or Underdark Prison Riot, or White Plume Mountain, or Tomb of Horrors, or whatever, provides a framework. and you can run the module exactly the way it's written. You can run Star Wars exactly the way it's scripted out, or you can take your own ideas and add them in. But just the key, if you take anything away from this 15 minutes of me pontificating, the key is framework. Have a framework. Know those 2 or 3 things that have to happen no matter what, no matter where and what the players do. They have to get this thing and do this thing and move this thing and pull this thing in order for your solution to be reached to continue the adventure to the next chapter. As long as you have that framework up here, sponsor me, Venom. You're in complete control. No matter what crazy, outrageous, table-flipping thing they do, as long as you can take the framework and adapt it to whatever they're doing so the story continues to moving, you are in complete control, even if they think you're not. So that is adventure building at its very core. Have a framework. Have those 2 or 3 things that have to happen. And then you have permission, give yourself permission to be okay with whatever the player's doing, unless you're doing chaotic, stupid, murder hobo shit like just randomly killing NPCs, which is never okay, and we'll talk about that later. Then, okay. But we're done because this is 16 minutes. I pontificated enough. You get the general idea of adventure building. In the next video, we'll talk about the 5-room adventure, which is a big thing going around right now, and how you can implement that to basically any story. But that's enough. That's 16 minutes. I hope you all had a safe, sane 4th. You're sober. You're okay. And we can move forward into what's going to be a crazy summer. I will talk to you losers later. Remember to subscribe.